Well, thanks for joining us, and it'll be really helpful for other customers to hear your specific experience with your project. Can you tell us a little bit about the project?
Yeah, sure. We moved into this house about 8 years ago now, I think. Is it about eight? And well, it's a bit more, 10, I think my wife's saying. My memory is not brilliant. But when we moved in, this conservatory, which you can probably see behind me, was actually built at the time. And it's a very nice conservatory, no question. And we spend a great deal of our life in here. It looks out over the garden, and it's a sort of winter garden in many respects. The problem was that even in the winter, the sun, because we're not quite south facing, but most of the day we get sun. It's impossible to, especially in the summer, to sit in here and sort of watch television. The glare is really intense. Obviously, we can open the door and get a bit of fresh air in, but it gets very hot and so on. Anyway, that's the background. So what we decided to do a number of years ago was to get some kind of blinds fitted to sort of eliminate some of the glare in particular. And we went along to a blind company. I won't, the blind, it sounds good, a company that produces blinds as opposed to a blind company. And they were actually very good, in all honesty. They did their best, but we had blinds, which if you look behind me, you can see the roof that slide across those panels that you can see behind me. The problem was it gets so hot up there in the summer that they started to break down very easily. And but give the company the due. I've got to give them credit where credit's due. They gave tremendous service. They kept coming back to repair these things, and I lost count of the number of times they came back. It must have been, I don't exaggerate when I say something like 15 or 20 times. And one of their engineers told me that actually the heat in the summer can get up to 45, 50 degrees centigrade at the top of that arch you can see behind me. So anyway, this went on for a number of years, and they kept breaking down and so on. Then we had a spell of a couple of years where they seemed to work. Then they broke down again and broke down again. So we decided we're going to have the whole thing renewed, and we didn't know precisely what we were going to get when we thought we'd just have to have new blinds. And we went round a number of companies who were quoting for new blinds, and there were all kinds of variations. We had wires going all over the place, so that would have been the case, which wasn't very satisfactory, because with the blinds we actually had, you had wires going across, but the solutions were to put the blinds lower down with wires across and so on. We weren't very happy. So we researched around, and eventually we came across yourselves, who do this, I think you call them lantern blinds. Anyway, the fact is you've got these two roller blinds. One comes from one side and one comes from the other. When this was first mentioned, I'll be honest, I had horrible visions of a giant roller at one end of the conservatory, and they're looking absolutely awful, But anyway, we felt, we spoke to Chris, and he showed us some examples and so on. And so we decided to go ahead. And to be perfectly honest with you, and I'm not the sort of person to give compliments when I don't think they're warranted. We were really pleasantly surprised. The blinds, you can hardly see them when they're back in their canisters. They're in little canisters at either end of the room, so there's not a big bulge like a big roller, which I feared. And as you will know, they run on tracks along the side. And the way they were fitted in, it looks like they were almost part of the original construction. It's very, very good. And they work very well. I mean, you're going to get one or two minor teething things that need adjustment, which we have had. But the fitter had been brilliant. He came back immediately and said, look, he expected a small gap, and it would take a little while for it to settle down, but he's fixed it immediately. And we're really very pleased. And so that's where we are. I think it does make a difference in terms of keeping the place cool. We are able to watch the television in here, which we couldn't do before. And well, the winter it remains to be seen, but presumably it will keep the heat in and one thing and another, so perhaps help with our energy bills and so on.
I'm sure in the winter you will feel a difference, because the airflow won't be reaching your glass, so there won't be this transfer of heat. that you have without the blind. So I'm very optimistic that you'll be happy through the winter months. Would you recommend WindowTreat to friends and family?
Based on our experience so far, yes, definitely.
Thank you. That's music to my ears.
I'm sure you can. I just don't want to fiddle around with it too much. Okay. There you go. You can see the other one coming up now.
Very smooth.
It's very smooth. It's a lot more silent actually than the roof blinds. It's a big area to cover as well.
Quiet.
Yeah, she's opened them again, so. Don't keep doing it because
Just to show they can be individual together.
Yeah. I mean, I think Steve knows that anyway. So.
Does he want any other combination?
No.